Hey guys, here's my B18C1 GSR motor swap. As you can see, the original Civic radiator is still installed. We got to get that out. Today we'll be replacing it with a Skunk 2 Alpha Series radiator, along with the Mishimoto fan shroud combo and Skunk 2 silicone radiator hoses. I'm going to get set up with my tools, and when we come back, we'll be ready to go. Okay guys, now we're ready to take out that coolant overflow tank. The first step is to undo this clamp here and slide it down. And after that, we're going to gently unpop this hose, like that, loop it under, and then you can just lift the tank out. I'm going to put this aside, and when we come back, we'll be ready for the rest of the install. Okay, now we're ready to drain the coolant from the radiator. The first step is to get your car up on jack stands to make it easy to put the drain pan underneath. And when placing the drain pan underneath, you want to center it up with the drain plug. Very important. Okay, and once that's centered, we'll go ahead and take off the radiator cap. And once that's off, we can go ahead and loosen up the drain plug. And there we go. Center it up a bit more. And this looks good. Okay, now that we've given the radiator plenty of time to drain the coolant, it's time to pull the hoses. The first step in doing this is releasing this clamp so that we can slide it up the hose. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and loosen up this clamp as well so that we can also slide it down. There we go. And go ahead and pull this end off the radiator, and then this guy. There we are. And after setting this aside, go ahead and repeat that step on the lower hose. Now that the radiator hoses are gone, we're ready to pull the radiator. The first step we're going to do is disconnect the wiring to the fan. Now to do this, you're going to follow the wiring from the back of the fan until you get to the connector. Once you reach the connector, push the button and disconnect. Okay, now we're ready to pull the bracket. So we'll go ahead. There we go, set that aside. Boop. Pull the bracket. Okay, when lifting out the radiator, do it gently and try not to lean it too much, because chances are there'll still be some coolant in there and you don't want to spill. There we go. So now we're going to go ahead, put this aside, and when we come back, we'll be ready to replace it with the new one. So here we have the Skunk 2 Alpha Series radiator and Mishimoto fan and shroud combo. When you first pull these parts out of their boxes, there will be some assembly required, but don't panic, it's super simple. Go ahead and use the provided sealing tape and line the shroud on all four sides. After placing that on top of the radiator, it's time to bolt the fan on with these bolts here. Now you'll notice the Mishimoto fan comes with the factory style connector, which makes for a super easy install. Now we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be ready to place this inside the Civic. Okay, we've gone ahead and set the radiator into place, and as you can see, the stock bracket is too tall. Now this is normal, not everything is going to be simply plug and play. I'm going to take you over to the workbench and show you how we resolve this. Here we are at my workbench, and I'm going to show you how we resolved that problem. Now if you'll remember, the original bracket was just a bit too tall to fit on the new radiator. I went ahead and took some measurements, and that way I could make a cardboard template. You'll use the template to test fit the radiator against the car to make sure the new bracket would fit perfectly. After that, you can go ahead and pick up some aluminum sheet metal available at any home improvement store and make your new bracket. I gave this one a nice polish so that it would match the shiny new radiator. Okay guys, now that we've got the radiator bracket made, we're going to go ahead and bolt it into place and also reconnect the fan. So the first thing we're going to do is line up the bracket. There we go. And it's always good to finger tight first to make sure you have a good connection. There we go. And now we'll reconnect the fan. And make sure the connector lines up. And give it a good squeeze. When you hear that click, you are connected. Okay, now that the radiator is bolted into place, we're going to go ahead and put on the silicone hoses next. Stay tuned. Hey guys, to give you a bird's eye view of our upcoming thermostat install, I'm going to go ahead and yank off our AEM intake. So what you're going to want to take off first is the nut and washer. Set that aside. And next we're going to go ahead and loosen up this clamp. There we go. Until you can slide it down, much like the radiator hoses. And then we're going to come to this clamp here, and again, loosen and slide. Okay, now we can pop off the hose here and gently lift up here, and it should just come off. Just like this. Perfect. I'm going to set this aside and we'll be ready to install the thermostat. Okay guys, now that the intake is out of the way, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the old thermostat. The first two steps of this process is to remove the ground wire bolt and disconnect the sensor. Bolts off. We'll push that out of the way. Disconnect the sensor. Okay, there's two more bolts that have to come off. They're going to be a little hard to film with the actual camera because my hands will be in the way, but I'm going to go ahead and point them out. The first one is right here, and it's super easy to take off. The next one is in a kind of a tight area, so you'll need an open end wrench, and that is right down there. I'm going to go ahead and take these off, and when we come back, we'll be ready to install the new thermostat. Okay, this is not a fun bolt at all. It is tight. And just when you think it's finger loose, it's not! And you need the wrench again. Okay, let's see how that is. Where'd it go? Yep, no, not finger loose yet. Oh wait, yeah it is. Barely. Okay. And we're turning. This is the moment where I'm glad I have small hands. Ah, there we go. If you can get two fingers in there, if your hands are, I guess, small, small enough. Success! The bolt is off! So after being on the car for so long, the housing may be stuck to the seal. To take care of this, we're going to go ahead and use the handle of our rubber mallet, place as so on the housing, and give it a couple of quick jerks. And there should be some coolant that will come out, so unfortunately I wasn't prepared with the drain pan, but hopefully you will be. And we'll go ahead and pull that off. Now you can inspect the rear thermostat housing for any corrosion or damage to the ceiling area. As you can see, that looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and wipe up any spilled coolant, and after that, we'll be ready for the next step. Hey guys, as you can see, the old housing has quite a bit of corrosion on it, so we're just going to go ahead and replace it with a new one. The first thing we're going to do is place this gasket on the new thermostat. Now you'll see it's one of those sandwich gaskets, so it'll slide on and then work your way around it. You want to line up the bleed port right here with this center notch. Also make sure these two nubs are pointing in. There we go. Perfect. So as you can see, the bleed port is centered in the notch with the 2 nubs. So we're going to go ahead and set that aside, and now we're going to go install the temperature switch. And with that, basically just a bolt on. Go ahead and give that a quick tightening. Okay, and now we're ready to install these on the car. We'll be back soon. Okay, now we're ready to go ahead and install the thermostat. You'll notice the 2 nubs right here and here correspond with 2 notches, there and there. So this is going to be easy to just slip in. And it'll be held in place. Now that the thermostat has been installed, it's time to put on the housing. I always like to put on the right bolt first, just to make the install a little bit easier. When putting this on, be sure that you don't knock the thermostat out of place. And I'm going to go ahead and thread this so that it's a bit snug, and that makes it easier to put on the second bolt. There we go. Okay. We're going to take a break while I put on the second bolt, and when we come back, we'll be ready to move on to the next step. Okay, now that the housing has been bolted into place, we're going to go ahead and reconnect the ground wire with our bolt, and then plug in the temperature switch. I always like to finger tight first, before I hit it with the impact. Okay, there we go. Always be very gentle. You don't want to just go fast out of the stable here. There we go. Okay. Now the temperature switch. So you want to line up right here, and it should click right on. There we go. Okay. Now we can move on to the next step. As you guys can see, I've already gone ahead and installed the lower radiator hose. The top one will be a lot easier for you guys to see what's going on, so we'll go ahead and install that now. Before you place the upper hose on, go ahead and put 2 clamps into place. Now we can go ahead and fit this end on first. And it's not going to be the easiest to go on, and you may have to shake it. My bicep curls come into play. There we go. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and fit the upper onto the radiator. And that seems a little bit easier. There we go. That looks good. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and slide these clamps into place. So I'll go ahead and tighten this one up. And again, you always want to go slow. Let's see. There we go. There we go. That's nice and tight. And we'll go ahead and slide this clamp as well. I went a little fast at the end there, but it's okay, no harm done. And there we go. The upper radiator hose has now been installed. We are ready for the next step. Okay, now we're ready to reinstall the coolant overflow tank. This is super simple. As you can see, there's a notch on the back and a bracket down below it'll slide right into. Yeah. And now we'll put the hose right under the radiator hose. Slide this guy on. Okay, and then we shall clamp it. Just like that. And with that, we're done with that. Now we're ready to fill the engine with coolant. And we're back. As you can see, the car has been put back together, so it's time to refill the cooling system. I like to use my Lyle spill-free funnel because it helps bleed the trapped air. For my coolant, I like to use the factory recommended Type 2. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open up the bottle. And so let's get this cap off here. Just fling that anywhere. And now we're going to go ahead and break the seal. And you can just make a little hole. You don't need to take the foil off completely. Okay, before we start to slowly pour coolant into the funnel, make sure you have a rag handy. This is a new cooling system, so there may be spills or leaks. So we always want to keep an eye out for that. So now we're going to go ahead and start to slowly fill up. And you'll notice at first the coolant goes straight down into the radiator. So we're going to keep pouring until it starts to pool in the funnel itself. And also, as a rule, don't keep this anywhere where you have pets or cats or anything like that, because this is extremely poisonous, and you want to keep those little guys alive. I like that this is such a, obviously this is a good thing having a spill-free funnel, because otherwise it would be everywhere. Okay, there doesn't seem to be any more going down into the radiator, so we're going to go ahead and fill more coolant, or put more coolant into the funnel to about this level. And it looks like I need another container. So, my handy cameraman. Woohoo! The magic of television. So let's go ahead and open this coolant up. There we go. And go ahead and break this seal. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, like I said before, and fill to this level right here. There we go. Woo! Okay, that wasn't good. Go ahead and wipe that off. Okay, once you have it filled to that level, go ahead and put the coolant aside, and always cap. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and turn the car on. As the car starts to warm up, you'll notice that bubbles come up through the radiator and into the funnel. These bubbles are good. This means that the trapped air is escaping. After there are no more bubbles, go ahead and turn off the car. We're going to go ahead and perform these steps because it'll be hard for you guys to hear me over the sound of the engine. And once we're done, I'll be right back and we'll show you the next steps. Okay guys, well, as you can see, the car is now off, the engine is cool, and we're ready to get rid of the remaining coolant. The first thing we're going to do is make sure you have an empty jug handy to put the remaining coolant in. After that, we're going to go ahead and put a towel around the base, just so when you first lift up the funnel, there will be a small amount of spillage. Nothing to worry about, perfectly normal. After that, go ahead and put the plug in the end of the funnel. This way, obviously, it'll keep it trapped in. Now we're ready to pull it off. So I'm going to jiggle it just a little bit. There we go. Put the other end into the empty jug. And okay, and we're going to go ahead and pull the plug. Awesome. So that is done draining. I'm going to take it off because it doesn't seem to be quite steady. Put it over in the corner there. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead, remove the rag, and take off the adapter. And pushing down, turning a little bit. We'll put that aside. And just kind of quickly wipe it up. And replace it with the shiny new cap. And press down and turn, and it'll lock into place. And with that, we've just replaced the entire cooling system. Congratulations! See you out on the track.